It's those city council members that have the wrong priorities. And frankly, shame on them.
Okay, but we're talking about the HERO initiative. That's obviously been, I think, something that you want to talk about. And we've seen your support of it on social media. But first, Monty Bennett, tell us who you are and tell us and what you do here in North Texas.
Sure. My name is Monty Bennett, and I'm in the hotel business here in North Texas in all different kinds of ways, owning real estate or servicing real estate. We're expanding into other forms of real estate now. I grew up in Houston, and then I went up to New York for school and then came down here in 1989. So I've been in the Metroplex and primarily Dallas ever since, and it's my home, and I love it.
Well, I guess because you support these amendments that are going to be on the ballot, walk us through why you think that this is the way to reform policing and public safety in North Texas, specifically with its biggest city, Dallas.
Well, if you look at all the other big cities in this country, they've really gone to pot, right? I mean, we see the news stories about Portland and Seattle and Chicago, and all of these cities are on a trajectory like this. And about 3 or 4 years ago, I kind of turned my attention, and I wasn't really focused so much on Dallas. My business took me all over the country, and the money to raise money is in New York City, so I just wasn't involved in Dallas much, but I turned my attention to Dallas, and I thought, you know what, I need to really get involved more in my community here and be involved more here. And what I found was that Dallas indeed is on this path as well. It's just not as far down as some of those other cities, and it really scared me. And I have a great loyalty to the city, and I don't want the city to be mocked like Philadelphia is, or like some of these other cities, and for them to turn into hellholes. And Dallas is on that path, and I'm worried about it.
How much involved have you been in the HERO amendment process? Because there has been some stories that everyone's kind of pointing, and even council members have said, who's behind all of this? And we know that there has been, I guess, some people close to you that have been either director of the HERO project. How much have you been involved?
I've been involved in as much as they'll let me, I guess I should say, and I've been involved somewhat financially, but also in trying to lend resources or help out, or if they need office space, or if I think we had a few employees actually help gather some signatures, just a few, but just where I can help. I'm such a strong believer in this, and I'll tell you why. Is because early on, there was a number of people that got together, and I was one of them, and there was talk about, okay, how can we help this city? How can we make this city better? And the city performs a survey every year by something called the ECT Institute. They've done it for like 20 years, but no one knows about it. The city pays a lot of money for it, and they get these results. And it's a very extensive survey. I think this past year they surveyed like 2,500 people in the city, so very statistically significant. And they go through it and they say, what do you like about the city? What do you don't like about the city? What does the city need to do different? What does it need to do better? And it asks the people all over the city all of these questions. And the answers to them are telling. The first thing is that the answers are almost the same in every part of the city. Whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Asians, whatever, whether you live in the north, the south, the east, or west, the answers are all very similar. And you guys should look at the study because it's expansive. And so we all started looking at this, and then through my association with the Dallas Express, Dallas Express does polls monthly or even more often, asking a whole bunch of questions. So it was just a process of just asking people, what do you want? What do you want the city to do, to be? And consistently in this ECT Institute survey, as well as all the other polls done and surveys by Dallas Express, they all say crime is a big problem. Homelessness is a big problem. Aggressive panhandling is a big problem. Street repair. These are what the citizens care about. But also in the poll, you see that there's a perception that the city government focuses on a whole bunch of other things, in that they try to do 500 things, not very well in my opinion, instead of doing just a few things well. And this is what everyone is saying. And when these were polled, these questions, these charter amendments, they passed among the populace by huge margins, 30 points, 40 points, 50 points. And they passed in bigger margins in the south part of town. This is what the people want. And I'm just excited that I can be a part of it and help give a voice to the voiceless, because you have this whole kind of ecosystem of the top levels of the city management, the city council, and other related bureaucracies that they want to run things. They want to decide where the money goes. They have this project, they have that project. But when you talk to the people don't want that. They want what they want. And the city council won't listen. They're more interested in their next election or bickering, or, I mean, sometimes you see that city council, it's like a clown show. It's terrible. It's like these people are in charge of a $5 billion budget. This is crazy. And meanwhile, the people are neglected. So anyway, you see, I get all impassioned about it.
Sure, obviously it's been a passion project. You mentioned that you put some money toward this. Are you willing to say how much? And also, what was it like to, I guess, know people that were raising petitions? There was a big threshold to get petitions for these amendments. What was that like, and how hard was that to do?
Well, I didn't do it, so I can't really speak to it. Pete Marocco, who runs the effort, could speak to it better. So I know they had a lot of people. They had volunteers, and they might have had some people they paid, and they went out and got all these petitions. So you probably have to talk to Pete about that.
Perfect. But as far as financials, I mean, are you willing to say how much you guys have kind of put into funding this thing?
I've put in a decent amount. I can't even tell you how much amount, because some of it, a good amount, has been lend a person here or trying to help there, give office space, right? So a lot of it's kind of in kind. So, but even the dollar amount, I couldn't tell you exactly. I'll help out when someone gives a call and ask for a little bit here or there, not unlike some of my other political initiatives that I try to help out with.
Gotcha.
But I'm a supporter, and regardless of how much that I might have put in, is I'm all behind these, and I think the city will pass these, and they need to be implemented, and because this is what the citizens of the city of Dallas want. This is what they want.
I do want to ask, as someone who is a supporter of all this, do you think this is a challenge now that the city has? I mean, it's kind of a perfect storm. We don't have a city manager, and we don't have a police chief. We assume, I mean, there'll be some interims that'll be appointed probably. They have a good bench at city DPD. Do you think this is a really, I don't know, I would say it'd be a tough time to walk into a job like a city manager job or a police chief job and have maybe these amendments sitting in front of you if they pass?
Well, just the reverse. If you're coming as a police chief and these pass, now you have a requirement for the city to spend 50% of all future dollars, so not pass out, but all future dollars, 50% of the increase in future dollars on more police and higher pay for police. Well, who wouldn't want that, right? What police chief do you know that wouldn't want that? That's fantastic, right? We should be able to get the best in the country with something like that. And then on some of these other matters, which says as a survey that holds the city manager accountable, it depends. Someone that's not very good and has lived a life with no accountability, they're not going to like it at all. Someone that likes accountability and likes to get paid for performance, they'll love it. I'd love it. I'd love the job. I won't even take the pay. I'd love to be the city manager because I think I could do great things for the city. I don't think they'll have me, but if they did, I would take the job. So it helps kind of winnow the field on the type of person that would take it. And what it does, it points them on focusing on 5 things primarily, and then everything else secondarily.
So that's been kind of the opposition that council members have had is how do we attract talent when it comes down to these amendments, and then also the timeline of things. What's your response? Because I'm sure you've read what people have said. Even Police Chief Eddie Garcia has said this seems like a big task. He'd love to do it, but he said, I don't know if I could do this, hire this many officers. And I know it's supposed to be a phase.
Yeah, he didn't say that. He asked, could you hire 1,000 and train in a year? And he answered with, well, that'd be difficult. But that's not what the amendment calls for. It's 50% of the increase in money you use towards 3 different purposes, which is raising the pay, hiring until we get to another 1,000, and also shoring up the police pension fund. Well, 50% of 1 year increase is not going to accomplish all of that. So even if he wanted to, which again, there's no reason he would want to try to hire and train 1,000 in a year, that's just something people come up with to try and speak against it because they can't come up with real good arguments. The only argument they have is we want to continue to spend money on all these goofy projects instead of where the people want them. That's the only argument they can have, and no one's going to buy into that. So they have to make up these mischaracterizations. And if you look at the one about the city manager, it says that the city manager is not even evaluated for 18 months past January 1st of a year. So it'll probably end up being something like 24 months later is when they're evaluated. Well, if you can't make progress in 24 months at a job, then maybe that candidate shouldn't take the job. And some of those city council people may be right. It might deter some people from taking the job, but it'll deter people that shouldn't have the job from having the job, which is perfect.
I guess what I would ask is there anything else that you've read in opposition that you'd like to kind of address? There's been, I can read some.
Yeah, read some.
That have been texted to me by some council members once they found out I would be talking to you. But they essentially said that more or less the funding would be an issue, that they struggle to fund libraries, let alone the police force at this time.
That's right.
Where would do you think that would be an issue when it comes down to again, pulling that money for public safety versus other initiatives? There are initiatives that I think people could probably characterize as frivolous from the city council's point of view.
I think you answered my question for me.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the $6 million contract to count trees? Did you hear that in the news lately?
Yes.
You really think we should spend $6 million to count trees? People don't care about the trees counted. What they want is to be able to go outside. My wife, who is writing an article as we speak to go into the Dallas Express, talks about stories that she's heard with events happening the last few nights, but there were people that don't want to give their names, about a gal that was drove into her garage and some people walked in behind her, shut the garage door, and beat her up, hit her with a gun, tied her up, stole everything from her. She's terrified. She's not staying at her house anymore. And the person calling my wife that heard about the story, she's terrified. She lives in North Dallas. She doesn't want to go outside. People are scared. And then when you go downtown, did you see that video of that poor woman standing at a street corner and just getting smashed to the ground? It was horrifying. People are scared. And so I would say to the council members, respectfully, they have the priorities all wrong. This is what people want. They want to be safe. They don't want to be scared. We need to take care of our homeless people. These homeless people need help. And you know what doesn't help them? Is letting them just wander anywhere they want at any time of day or night and letting them sleep wherever they want to, day or night. They don't have the right to convert public property to private property. They need our help. And I'm leading a big initiative to do something about homelessness, which is maybe the subject of another interview. But at the same time, they don't have the right to just wander through the streets. And these poor people, they've got drug problems, mental health problems. And downtown is falling apart. It is falling apart. I want to move this business downtown. My lease is coming up. I would have a mutiny in this office if we moved downtown. Why is that? It's because people are scared. And the Bank of America building, you know why it sold? Because Bank of America moved. Yeah. They moved a third of a mile. They're paying triple the rent to get out of downtown. A third of a mile. Instead of $20 a foot, they're going to pay $63 a foot. An enormous increase just to get out of downtown. And if you ask the right people, Why? It's because of crime, homelessness, street repair, all these kinds of things. So it's those city council members that have the wrong priorities. And frankly, shame on them, because they're the same ones that pulled this trickery where when these charter amendments got on the ballot, they went around and snuck around and put 3 other charter amendments on that invalidated the first 3 charter amendments without saying that they invalidated these other charter amendments to try to trick the populace. And thankfully, the Texas Supreme Court poured them out, spanked them down, and said you can't do that. But this is the kind of trickery because they think they know what the city needs better than what the people know. Because if you poll the people, they won't spend $6 million on tree counting. They'll spend it on the areas that I said. So the problem is a number of these city council people. And that's why we have the whole referendum process, so the people can speak when the city council is not getting the job done. And that's what's happening.
Last question, and you've answered that pretty much, across the board, what I was trying to get to as far as their opposition, what they say. They've also said that this is an outside source, that is influencing voters to change something in an area where these folks don't live. And I think they're talking about you, saying
well, they may do, but I lived in Dallas. I had to move because of their mismanagement. And the 169,000 people that signed those petitions to put them on the ballot, where do they think those people live? They live here. And this is a citywide deal. Look, they've got to say something if they don't want it. Again, they're not going to say the truth, which is, we run the city terribly. We want to keep spending money in these terrible ways and give contracts to our buddies and ignore you people of the city. They can't say that, so they have to come up with all this other garbage. So that's what they're saying. But shame on them for what they're trying to do with this, for trying to trick the people. Their amendments that they put on, sole purpose was to trick the voter. That's the type of city council that we have. Is it any surprise that they're saying all these kinds of things?